I'm Nick Seco from HomeRight Windows and Doors, and we're located in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. So we do vinyl replacement windows, we do steel and fiberglass entry doors, we do aluminum storm doors, and we do sliding patio doors, all made by Provia. The windows are a vinyl replacement window, and it could be anything from double hungs to casements to bay and bow windows and everything in between. So when somebody calls in the office and needs an estimate, they get Roxanne on the phone typically, and she would schedule an appointment for me to come out and take some measurements, provide some literature, go through what options we have, and then I would follow up within about 24 to 48 hours with an estimate with all the details of the products as well as the installed price. I find that we're typically much more affordable than the companies that you see advertising on TV or in a lot of other places. If they're spending a lot of advertising dollars, obviously they're passing those costs on to their consumers. You could go to our website at homerightwaynesboro.com, or you could call us at 717-749-4874.
Local and live, covering Franklin and Washington counties, it's Let's Talk TriState with Tiny and Katie.
Welcome to Let's Talk TriState, all powered by HomeRight Windows and Doors in Waynesboro, the right choice. Winner of the 2024 Best of the TriState Awards. We have Kathleen Davison with us. She is the CEO of Painted Saint Entertainment. She's the director of a show that is coming up that you can see in Waynesboro called Tell. Kathleen, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
This is a first for us, having someone who is a director of a play, which we love. Now, we've had a movie, but this is different, obviously. I love the theater myself. So tell us about your history. Before we get into the show, Tell, let's talk about Kathleen. Where are you from? How did you get into theater? And how did you get to where you are today?
I grew up in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So I'm a local. And I've lived in Los Angeles for the last 28 years. I went to Penn State, I have a degree in theater, started out on stage in Chicago, and then went to Los Angeles and got steeped in film and television. So you also have a film director
there you go.
today.
Okay.
But in this scenario, I am a stage director. I started my own production company, Painted Saint Entertainment. Was incredibly fortunate to have an education. I was apprenticed by Steven Spielberg. I was the apprentice to Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, Frank Darabont. So I am excited to be able to come back to my roots and share what I've learned in my life and career with this local community.
Now, are you back here, or is this just a trip back?
It was a little bit of an unfortunate return in some ways, not that I'm not very grateful to be here. In 2019, you know about the LA fires now.
Yep.
2019, we also had a really bad fire year, and I was right on the edge of the evacuation line, couldn't see down the block of my street, swimming pool filled with ash, 2 young kids, and in addition to that, I had been in a very bad car accident. So for the past 5 years, I've been rehabbing from that. I've been through 8 surgeries. I was told I would probably go blind. And I needed to figure out how to downshift my life and lifestyle and how I was going to get through this and stabilize. I decided to come back to my roots. I wanted a healing place that was steeped in nature and beauty, and I'm in the rolling fields of Waynesboro now with the forest as my backdrop.
That couldn't be better.
Could not be better. But I was not able to touch the arts or my career for 5 years. And even moving back here, I wasn't able to connect with the community because I was just trying to get through activities of daily living and constantly getting through surgeries and being carted to Johns Hopkins and back.
Almost like learning how to be you, over again.
New normal, totally new normal. In 2024, my condition stabilized. So I was careening towards losing my vision, and they didn't understand exactly what was damaged in the accident and how it was functioning, and they didn't know how to treat it. So they were, I was a guinea pig with a lot of darts being thrown at the wall, hoping stuff would stick.
And in the midst of all this, the pandemic happens.
And the pandemic, we're going through COVID at the time, wildfires, medical crises. It was a rough chapter.
The road that led you here was certainly
rocky. There were boulders.
Could use a little paving, but we got you here. Okay, so now we fast forward, and we are here now. Yeah. The show is called Tell.
Yeah.
And it is happening later this month, at the end of the month, as a matter of fact, and you have a several-day run. So what is, first of all, the Trinity Players? Take us through this, because I had not heard, and I'm from Waynesboro, I have not heard about Trinity Players. What is that?
Well, you're not the first. Let me tell you, Trinity Players has been around for over 60 years.
Okay.
It was started by Reverend Clayton H. Moyer of Trinity UCC Church as part of their outreach programming. I found out about it from another one of the most fabulous artistic fixtures we have in this region, Mrs. Kay Yaki. I don't know if you know her.
Okay.
But Kay has been running the costume loft. So in the attic of the church, they have this enormous collection of costumes. And Kay has been running that, and she furnishes the costumes to so many of the regional schools and community theaters. It is just a treasure trove to have something like that, especially in a small town. And she is also our costume director or costume designer for Tell. I took the idea to Trinity Players because, first of all, that was the first church that I went to.
Okay.
When my situation stabilized, I realized I've been here for 3 years and I really don't know anyone. And the first thing I did was I attended Trinity to check it out. I had met Kay because my daughter is in the theater, so she had done some stuff that Kay had furnished wardrobe for. And when Kay introduced me to the story, to the history of Trinity Players, it really endeared me to what they had been doing. But it was hard to find out what they were doing because they really don't publicize.
Right.
This is a super rare thing that I'm here, and necessary because we're doing a show that nobody's heard of, and they're not going to identify with it even to see a poster for it. But I went to them and I said, hey, I have this idea. I want to do a workshop that will build community, that will take local stories and voices and lift them to the stage. And it didn't take long in the workshop for me to start to think bigger and go, you know what, I want to continue this. I want to do the workshop as a series that can go to any region, a small town, a city, to any place in the world, and take local regional stories and specifically from people who don't do that professionally.
Right.
And put them into this theatrical format so that we can hopefully with time create an anthology of plays that will sort of stitch together all these different regions. But one of the things that was really cool about this was, first of all, starting with, so the workshop is called Seek. We had 20 people from the TriState region show up. Some of them are writers coming to function as writers, some as actors, and some were just people who had interest in the business of theater and wanted to learn more. And they, the only real parameters they were given as writers was, I want you to share a true story. That I want you to really, before you decide what that story is going to be, I want you to reflect on it, meditate, pray, whatever that means to you, and ask yourself, what story do I feel most compelled to share and tell, and why? I didn't know what they would come with. It could have been comedies, it could have been anything. What predominantly emerged were stories that centered in trauma. And I felt like I need to honor this. They've honored the call. I need to honor the stories that presented. That isn't an easy thing, though, to tackle. And what this show is something that I think is so unique and rare to the region and on so many counts because, first of all, we don't have a lot of new and emerging work coming out of this region. To be clear, that we're starting in a community theater, and it's really important. We're so grateful that Trinity Players has recognized the need to give space to new and emerging work. Though it's being initially developed there, it'll go beyond this. So it takes years to develop a new show. This is the first time we're sharing it with an audience. And that audience, we're inviting them to really help us with the feedback to continue to develop the show. But the stories that were shared were very intimate. And every writer, it's their own personal story. They are all true stories. Yeah. And they center on facing trauma, and they survived it. So it's got a very uplifting theme, but it's a heart-wrenching.
I'm sure.
It's an evening. We designed it to be a very intimate theater experience. It's a thrust stage. There are only 99 seats, so if you want to go, make your reservation now because when they're gone, this is a short run. But every audience member will feel like they are a part of the production. It's not just a sit back and watch. Don't worry, nobody's going to be yanked on stage.
Right.
Not that, but just really immersive and engaging.
So these are, the show, Tell, is an anthology of independent stories.
They're vignettes, so it's not one through line story.
Right.
And what we have, so we did the workshop with the 20 people, then we had an open call, and the show functioned like a traditional theater run would with rehearsal. So we had an open call audition. We cast 16 actors, and they tell the stories.
Okay.
And it's they function as principal storytellers at times, and then as support. So there's a cast of 10 who were on stage the entire show.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It's been it's a demanding project.
Yeah.
In all regards, and boy, they have met it. I've been blown away. It started with the writers and the stories that they wanted to share, that they were willing and courageous enough to share.
Yeah. It's almost, I would bet, probably therapeutic in a way.
Cathartic. That's what I say. We did interviews with everybody who participated in the workshop at the end of the workshop, and one of the most prevailing common threads of what they chose to talk about was there were moments where it felt really hard and challenging to them, scary to them. There were moments for all of them where they thought, what am I doing?
Right, yeah.
and maybe wanted to bail. Nobody did. And it's meant to challenge thought. And so when you leave this show, it's not like going to a musical and you dance out clicking your heels to show tunes. It's meant to leave you debating and thinking and hopefully having that live with you for a while.
Yeah.
And that is definitely what it did in the workshop. So I said, look, one of the only parameters I'm going to lay down is you cannot use this as a political platform. You can share your personal views, your beliefs, but not in a way that's trying to coerce the audience to believe them. So you're going to see different perspectives represented in the show, and that challenged some people's beliefs and ideologies to a degree that there were at least 2 at one point who said, I don't know if I can see this through. But like I said, they did. And in the end, they said, I am so glad that I didn't bail on that. What it did for me was it didn't make me change my personal values or beliefs. It made me understand someone else's.
Yeah.
So it made me feel much more open, sympathetic, empathetic to the choices they made in their life. Whereas before, I might have come at it from a much more judgmental place. But once you hear and really get to know a person and hear their the truth of their story shared in such a vulnerable way, it's really hard to be so critical.
Sure.
So that's what we hope the show will help to do is open communication and discussion and to make us a little more available to holding and appreciating each other and our stories and recognizing the power of sharing stories.
Yeah, of course. And I think, too, it brings it down to a level that you may have people in the audience who are experiencing or have experienced something similar, and it lets you know that you're not alone in your story.
Exactly.
You're not unique in that people are struggling with similar or identical problems every single day, and they may see these in some of the many stories told in Tell. I think that's very commendable, I
feel that I can confidently guarantee you that everybody who attends this will either have personally experienced one of these thematic stories or someone they really love has gone through it.
Or is going through it.
Or is going through it.
Yeah. Very good. So it's going to shine a light, and it sounds like it's going to do that in the most beautiful way. So the tickets, people can get tickets. How do they do that? What's the contact information for all things Trinity Players?
That's a tricky one because they are a very humble organization. They don't generally do any kind of advertising. It's pretty much word of mouth, their church bulletin, and their Facebook page. So that isn't the easiest way. For this particular show, you can go to tellsurvivingsecrets.com. That will take you to a little summary and a ticket link. You can also go to brownpapertickets.com and search Tell in Waynesboro, PA. That'll get you to the ticket link. Tickets will be sold at the door if there are any left. Again, intimate theater. Only 99 seats per show, and when the tickets are gone, they're gone. So if you want to go, I would very strongly encourage advanced ticket sales.
And this is taking place, I'm assuming this is at the church?
Yes. So they have Harbaugh Hall, which has a stage, and they built a beautiful thrust for this show, and we'll see it in shows that are coming up as well. But they built a beautiful thrust stage that goes out into the room, so you get to sit all around the stage.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, an immersive experience if ever
Very
there
much
was,
so.
right? That's wonderful. Well, we've been talking with Kathleen Davison, and she is the CEO of Painted Saint Entertainment, the director of the all-new show called Tell. That's going to be happening at Trinity Players in Waynesboro. Now, you gave me the dates here, Kathleen, so correct me if I'm wrong on any of these. Starts on the 28th at 7 p.m.
Correct.
Runs through the 2nd of March, and that's at 2 p.m.
Correct.
Is that correct? So how many shows are there in total?
4. So,
performances.
on that Saturday, March 1st, we have a 2 p.m. and a 7 p.m.
Okay.
But otherwise, we open at 7 p.m. and we close at 2 p.m.
Get your tickets now at brownpapertickets.com. And what's the other website?
TellSurvivingSecrets.com.
And I can't encourage you enough. This is something that I don't think I ever expected to be in Waynesboro. We have the movie theater, we have the typical cultural things, but this is something that I think we're going to find afterward has been missing. And I think you've got your work cut out for you, Kathleen, because it's going to continue, I think. I really do.
It's really nice to be returned to the stage, too. A film is one thing, but that live connection
of course.
Of an audience.
And I'm glad to see that you were doing so well, given the circumstances that you had back in 2019, and you are rocking and rolling today, and all the better for it. So we're glad to have you, and I'm sure we'll have you back on Let's Talk TriState, okay?
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, and thank you so much for joining us on Let's Talk TriState, all powered by Virtus Men's Health in Hagerstown. Telehealth available. Find them online at virtusmenshealth.com.
If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Let's Talk TriState, call 717-597-9200 or email letstalk@921thegoat.com.